What's up, Wholesale Nation? Andy Speed here.
Andre King.
And we've got a great guest for you today. We've got Scott Bauer out of the Phoenix market with HBSB Holdings. So we've known Scott for a couple of years now. Excited to have you here.
Hey, man. Appreciate you, inviting me on the show. Happy to be here.
Good. And also the Invest This podcast. I see it in the background back there. So I didn't want to leave that one out. I know you want to be able to plug that and talk about it, but definitely thanks for being on.
Yeah, man, really appreciate it. And actually with the Invest This podcast, we're doing a relaunch in 2020. So be looking out for Invest This. We got some really exciting stuff and exciting guests coming on the show. So make sure to check in.
Yeah. And I'd like to tell, our Wholesale Nation audience. So one of the people that inspired us was you. We saw you were in a mastermind with us. We saw that you were doing a podcast. I think we even asked, I don't know what number we were on. We were on your podcast. But at that point we hadn't started and we were talking about it. What should we do and how should we do it? And we kind of bent your ear a little bit. So definitely appreciate it for getting us on the right path there. And that's where Wholesale Nation got going.
Yeah.
So
I think we were episode 21. What episode are you on now, Scott?
We're on 96, I think.
Oh, wow.
Wow. This guy's running.
So yeah, definitely a lot of value there. Man, 96, you've been running and gunning since we were on. It feels like that was just a few months ago.
Yeah, I bet it was a year ago.
It was probably at least a year ago. But yeah, thanks for having us on and thanks for being on. Sorry for the delay in getting you on, man. We know that, just from the masterminds that we've spent, belly to belly talking about our businesses, that you've got a tremendous amount of value to add, and glad to have you. So Scott, let's, for those that don't know you, let's, take about 5 minutes. Tell us who you are.
Yeah, we'll just take a quick, sweet synopsis of it. I'm Scott Bauer. I'm actually originally from Iowa, the state of Iowa. I moved out here after college. Prior to that, let's see, where do I even want to start it? I started my first company when I was a junior in high school. It was a car detailing company. And from that, I met my first coach and mentor who happened to just own 7 cars. And he became one of my big clients when I had the detailing company. And he also was the president of a very large logistics company that was based out of Iowa. So when I went to college, he said, why don't you come intern with me during the summer at this company? It was called Jacobson Companies at the time. And, we'll kind of teach you everything about the business. And when you graduate from college, you can pretty much have your pick of where you want to go in the country, and we'll open a position for you. And when this happened was 2011. Very, very, very hard to find a job for anybody. So I was very blessed to have that opportunity. When I came out here to Phoenix and worked for that company, I worked for them for about a year, but realized very quickly that being a W-2 employee was just not for me. I was in sales with the company, but it still was just, I have this entrepreneurial spirit. And so after about a year working with them, I was dating a girl at the time who's in property management, managing apartment complexes. And she said, why don't you go get your real estate license? Why don't you, it's the same thing. You're in sales. You probably like it. So I did just that and was an agent. Went to school, got my real estate license, and was a real estate agent for about a year before I figured out that wasn't what I wanted to do either. So all these failures up to this point have got me, to that point. And so I joined the local RIA here, realized that there were other ways you could make money in real estate. And I actually got into a guy's coaching program. His name was David Lindahl, and he is a multifamily investor. And his his pitch really made a lot of sense with buying apartment buildings with other investors and sharing in the profits. And that's a whole nother conversation. But from meeting him, I met one of his students who introduced me to wholesaling houses, and that was really the beginning of my wholesale business. So that person who I'm talking about, him and I worked together for about 6 months. He provided all of the capital to market for properties, and I went out there, got all the properties under contract and sold them. He made all the money in that scenario, and I made all the experience in that 6 months. So after that, would have been 2014, I started HBSB Holdings, which stands for Homes by Scott Bauer. And right now we do about 70 transactions a year, at least we will this year. And, I've built a rental portfolio for myself. I've actually done a couple of apartment syndications that I'm still in today. And we're just really moving and shaking, that's for sure.
Man, so I actually didn't know that you've been in the business since 2014.
Right.
So so you've done really well since then. What does your team look like today?
So right now we have one acquisitions guy, Heather, who's in charge of operations and admin, Javon, who is pretty much does a mix of marketing and leads management. She kind of does our KPI numbers as well. So we want to make sure that we look at that every single week and all the time, and to really diligent about that, because that's ultimately what runs your business.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have Barbara, or we call her Rocky, and she does everything social media. She actually runs my podcast. She does everything online, and she's actually not in the office. She's out of California.
What an awesome nickname.
Yeah,
you go from Barbara to Rocky. So it's like bookkeeper to just badass.
Right, I know, huh?
So, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty slim team for, 70 deals, and that just incorporates the podcast. And I know that you've got, with your buy and hold and stuff, do you manage in-house?
No, we don't manage in-house. So, when I say that that's my team, there's still more to the team, because I have a CPA who's part of my team as well that handles everything. We talk to him monthly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a bookkeeper who runs all the books, not only for HBSB Holdings, but also for the rental portfolio and also for me personally. And I could not do what I do without those people. Same
Right.
thing with property management. We do not manage in-house, but I have an external property management company that allows me to focus on what I'm good at and outsource the rest, right?
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, it's still, even with outsourcing that, it's still a pretty slim team for, the volume that you're doing. I've got to applaud you there. You did mention one thing about your metrics. So let's touch on that briefly. I know it's not the sexiest topic for most people,
Right.
but it is absolutely pivotal to succeeding in this business. So how do you go through your metrics? I know you look at them. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so it's really, really important for you to, in order to see the lifeblood of what your business is doing, you need to see what it's actually producing. Therefore, we take down all the different marketing channels that I'm doing, which is direct mail, Google AdWords and pay-per-click, as well as cold calling. We break those metrics down to how many calls or how many pieces are going out, what is the response rate, what are the people that are responding, how many people does it take to get an appointment, how many appointments does it take to get a deal, how many of those deals make it all the way to closing, etc. We try to analyze that stuff all the time. And so from a direct mail standpoint, which has been my baby for the last 5 years, now we send out 25 to 30,000 pieces a month. About 1 in 17 of those phone calls that come in is a deal, where our average profit's about 15 grand. And from an appointment standpoint, it's about 1 in 6 calls is an appointment. So we'll be able to go on one out of 4 appointments will turn into a deal.
Okay. And on those appointments, so who's taking the phone calls and setting those appointments for your team?
So if we're cold calling, I actually have a cold call team that's out of the country that does all our original cold calling, as well as our acquisitions also does some cold calling. And so they'll take the initial call. If it's an inbound lead, then Javon will take that. That'll be Google AdWords and pay-per-click and direct mail. She'll take that and make the initial call, or make the initial answer rather.
Mm-hmm.
She'll just get some preliminary information and try to see if there's any sort of motivation and set that appointment. Once the appointment is set, then I'll take a look at it, or Mason will take a look at it and make sure that it's actually an appointment that's worth going on, and we'll kind of justify it from there.
Right. And I think that's smart, because we did that when we were going out to appointments, was setting the appointment. And we found that people, they quit calling other people and gave us the time to, like you're doing, taking a look at it before you go out to the appointment. So you guys don't go on every single appointment then, is what I'm assuming there.
Yeah, we're going to set that appointment. So Javon or Mason or really whoever is answering the phone, talking to that person, their job is to set the appointment, because you're exactly right. What happens is, once they have an appointment, they know somebody's going to come take a look at their house. So they're not going to talk to somebody else, and, or maybe they will, but they're saying, hey, I got somebody else coming over. Mm-hmm. And during that time between when you talk to them on the phone and set the appointment to the actual appointment, that gives you plenty of time to look up the property, to understand a little bit more about it. And you can always call that person back and say, hey, doesn't look like this is going to be something we can work with you on, or, hey, this time's not going to work for me. When can we reschedule, or whatever it is. But at least you have that appointment in the book, and you have that opportunity that you can go after if you like.
Okay, perfect. And you said that direct mail has been your bread and butter. All right. So we've been talking to people all across, and, there's some people who say that direct mail doesn't work anymore. Right. So what are you doing different with yours that you would say that's making yours work for you?
Well, first and foremost, for those people that say that it's not working, you know, I agree with you. Please
don't do it.
Don't do it. It doesn't work.
You know, but I can tell you it does work. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that you have to do is be consistent. You have
Mm-hmm.
to have, you know, I don't do the yellow letter that it looks like you hand wrote it. I think that's cheap and cheesy. I think there's a lot of reasons why people say that it doesn't work when they send those letters out, because
Mm-hmm.
if I get that in the mail, I know that I'm tearing it up or throwing it away, right?
Right.
A very professional company. We have a professional letter that is very to the point. There's no hidden secrets. There's no, you know, there's nothing that is going to prevent somebody from calling. If they're in a situation, even if they're just curious, we want to make sure that they call.
Right.
So yeah, that's really the secret. And the other secret is the follow-up. So the majority of people that send out marketing, whether it's direct mail or cold calling or whatever, when somebody comes into their system, that's it. If they don't close them on the first deal, then they just let it go. And I can tell you that the money's made in the follow-up. So you have to have a system that works for the follow-up for every single person that comes into our system. I can tell you out of the 3,500 almost leads that we've come in over the last 3 years, they're all still getting touched in one way, shape, or another, right? Consistently. Even if they tell us that they don't want to be talked to again, perfect. We'll talk to you in a year because things change.
So does your follow-up system differ from somebody that you have actually been out on the appointment versus somebody that maybe you disqualified them out of the gates? It's one of the 5 that called you and said, you know, you decided that you're not a good fit. What does your follow-up look like for somebody that you've actually talked to and says that, you know, this is a house that we want to buy?
Well, so if they want to sell, if we're talking
If
about
they want to
selling,
sell, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's different too if we're talking about buyers. There's 2 separate follow-up
Yeah, I'm
sequences.
sorry, it was a seller.
So if we're talking about a seller, yeah. If I've gone out to the property and, you know, we looked at the property and, you know, we made them an offer and they did not accept it, you better believe they're getting called every single day until they tell me why they didn't accept it.
Right.
What is the situation? Because, you know what, one thing that I think a lot of amateur wholesalers or just people that are just starting out they get so caught up on the price. And a lot of times for these sellers, it's not about the price. Price is not everything for them. They're looking for convenience. There's a reason why they picked up the phone and decided to sell to you. And if you've done a good job in your marketing piece of explaining exactly kind of, you know, at least a preview of what your process looks like, then, you know, they picked up the phone and called you on purpose. And so you really need to understand why they've done that. And it always comes down to the why. There's a very, very smart and very influential person named Mr. John Martinez who has a sales system that is phenomenal. And, you know, it always comes down to kind of what is the why, what is the impact, and what is their picture perfect scenario of what they want this transaction to look like. If you can answer those 3 things, you know, your chances of closing that deal are much, much higher.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely gold right there. Because if you, as a wholesaler, are competing on price, you're going out of business because you cannot compete on price as a wholesaler.
Right.
If you're competing against another wholesaler, you're just saying I'm the one that's going to take the least amount of margin. You know, if you're the only one going in and you're trying to compete on their price and not solve their problem, you're going out of business. You're not going to be able to sell that house or solve the problem. So you're doing them a disservice by offering them too much. So forget about price if you're new to wholesaling. And you know, whenever a new wholesaler calls me, and I take a lot of calls from new wholesalers every week, and the first thing that they tell me about this lead that they're working is the price. We know that we need to. I need to take few steps back. It's the seller that matters, not the house. Like I don't care what the house is. It's what problems do they have? How did the conversation go? You know, what are their next steps? And the perfect process in their mind. Like what problem are you solving? If you don't know those answers, then you're putting yourself behind the curve. You know, if we've got the same lead, we're going to get the deal because we're focused on solving their problem.
Right. And it doesn't matter what marketing you send at that point. If you're not taking care of that seller when they're calling, then you're going to burn the lead anyway. But I like what you said about direct mail. So for most people that says that it's not working, it's always been not being consistent on it. Right. Because the one thing I will say that, we don't do a lot of direct mail. We do to niche lists. Direct mail probates is what we send our direct mail to. But I've been over the course of this year, we've been seeing leads from direct mail, right? And so that's been leads that have came from we marketed like a year, 2 years, 3 years ago, which you won't get from cold calling, texting, and all those other things, right? Because people are just not going to pick up the phone and say, hey, you called me like a year ago. I'm going to call you back. But they keep that professional letter that you sent to them that said, hey, I'm interested in buying your house, then they give you a call back. So if you're consistent, I can see how you can be very successful with direct mail over time for sure. Okay.
Well, and when I say consistent, I'm talking about every single month for the last 5 years. They have we send out 25,000 mail pieces. Sometimes it's 22, sometimes it's 27 or 30 or 35, but every single month, no matter what, marketing goes out. So another tip for people that I think that are, maybe new to wholesaling, that are afraid of marketing and are afraid to spend the money on the cost of the marketing, I will tell you that if you stop marketing, there's 100% chance you're not going to get deals. But if you continue to keep marketing, even when you stretch, let's say you have a bad month, you don't close any deals, or you have no money coming in, or whatever it is, find a resource to continue your marketing. Because if you consistently send out marketing, if you're consistently getting out there in front of people, deals will come to you.
Yeah,
I promise.
So Andre, you notice, like, as he's saying that, the fist started to hit
he's pounding that
fist
down.
started to hit the table, because that's such truth right there. I mean, the day that you stop marketing is the day that your business is dying, and eventually you will go out of business, because as a wholesaler, that's your investment.
You're in the marketing and sales business.
Yeah, your investment is marketing. As soon as you stop investing, your returns stop coming in.
Right.
So that's absolute gold right there. So if you are listening to this and you are new, you need to focus on the inputs, and that's marketing.
Right.
Like, so many people get caught by the shiny objects, and I need to learn about sub twos. I need to learn about all this and business cards, websites. It's all marketing.
Right.
I mean, you need to just focus on the stuff that's going to generate the response that you need.
Right. And we're going to talk a little bit later about some of the other things that Scott does. But before we got on, though, Scott said one of the main things he said was, this is what pays the bills, right? You have other things that you do, but he's staying focused on the main thing that's paying the bills, right? And so let's go to, you said that cold calling. You're also cold calling as well, right? So you said that you outsource that. Is that through a company, or did you have someone that you hired on that's doing that?
Yeah, so acquisitions does a little bit of that as well. I do some cold calling, very little bit, but acquisitions does it. And then I have a company, 1,000 calls a day, that is actually out there cold calling on the same list that we're direct mailing. So they're not only getting a call, but they're also getting a text message. They're also getting an email. We're trying to be kind of omnipresent around those people. So, they get a letter in the mail. They walk inside, the phone rings, and somebody's asking them about selling their house, and they jump on the computer, they got an email. Listen, I'm everywhere, so they're going to know who I am. But back to kind of what you were talking about is staying focused. I think in this world of real estate and real estate investing, it is so shiny object just centered. Like, there are shiny objects everywhere. And the reality is you can make millions and millions of dollars in every single aspect of real estate and real estate investment that you choose to, if you want. But what won't do it for you is if you try to do it all. It's like if you're trying to chase a rabbit, and if you chase the one rabbit, you're a good chance that you're going to catch it, right? But if you go to chase 10 rabbits, you're not going to catch any, because you're going to be running all over the place trying to catch one, and at the end of the day, you're going to have nothing. Yeah,
that's true. And that happens. We see it all the time, because people watch YouTube, they're watching videos. They said, okay, I'm going to do this type of marketing because I'm going to get this. I'm going to start texting. I'm going to start doing this. And what they fail to realize is that it doesn't matter which marketing channel you do. You still got to focus on it. You got to learn it, right? And you got to stay consistent until it works, right? And they jump in it just for 1 second, and then they're out. It didn't work. Right, and then they're out of the business is what we see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Month after month in our meetup, right? So that just happens.
Yeah, and it's really easy to not be consistent. It's really easy to find that shiny object syndrome. What I've had to do in my business is really get very, very good at one thing, and then I put things in place. I put systems and processes in place to allow that to start to work without me putting so much emphasis in it, where I can start to transition into another place. So case in point, it was, do I just want to wholesale? Yes. So 3 years ago, I was like, I'm just going to do wholesaling. That's all I'm going to focus on. Then I kind of got sidetracked, and I was going to buy some apartment buildings, and guess what? My wholesale business went down. So it's like, okay, that can't work. Jumped back on the wholesale train, really spiked that up again, hired some support, got some people, working with me. Now that's really, really taken off again. It has been, and we're a little bit down this year, but it should close out around 70 deals, which is, a great year.
Right.
So it's the power of being focused.
Yeah, and that's phenomenal. And so for someone that's looking to maybe transition and start moving into, because I know that you're still into multifamily, are you looking to expand your multifamily now again, or just strictly stay into the wholesaling?
No, I mean we'll still going into 2020. My goal is by second quarter really have some more focus on the multifamily side of things, raising capital, buying assets with other investors. But if you're going to diversify what you're doing, do a spin-off of what you're already doing. So from my experience, we're out there wholesaling properties. We're going out there marketing for off-market deals. When you find an off-market deal that's a really good deal that you can get solid rents on, that you're getting a good price on, that is a good solid asset, buy it and put it in your rental portfolio, because it doesn't take any more time for you to search for that, right?
Right.
That's a good bolt-on business. If you're going to learn about creative finance, subject to, if you're going to do wrap deals and things of that nature, that's fine, because we're already out there marketing for these properties. So for an example, if you're a wholesaler and you're out on a wholesale appointment, or you're talking to somebody on the phone on a wholesale appointment, and let's just use round numbers, the property's worth $100,000, you're going to offer the seller 70 and they say no. Okay, well, that's not going to work. But you know what? Hey, we'll give you that 100 that you're asking for if you'll carry the paper. Now that just gives you another opportunity for them to say yes. And basically, if you're taking 1 in 20 of your leads, as a round number, 1 in 20 of your leads is a deal, but you can add on, you can bolt on one that you're going to take down for yourself in your rental portfolio, or some sort of creative finance. And now all of a sudden 2 out of 20, you just doubled your business. Right. I mean, and you didn't have to do anything more in order to get there other than ask another question.
Right. And I think that's great advice, because we get that all the time from people. Like, they 1 minute they're wholesaling, the next minute they're doing something else. But I like how you said to just use something as a bolt on, that you can easily transition, versus completely changing your business and losing focus on the wholesaling side, which, like you said, a lot of times if you have a wholesale business, it is a cash business, but it is paying the bills to get you into something else. Right.
Yeah. And that's once you've built a wholesale business. That's not step one out of the gates. I'm going to deploy all these 15 different exit strategies and be an expert in all of them, because you're going to fail. The power of focus.
Well, time and effort will solve everything, right? So 2014 to 2019, we're going to be 2020. So I don't know if you can do math, but that's 5 or 6 years, right? So of doing this business, and I just started buying rentals in 2018. So there's 4 solid years of me doing this, only wholesaling, before I even started making transition. I think that's good advice for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. A lot of people need to hear that. Like you said, a lot of people think they're going to come out the gates. Like Andy said, they don't really understand the wholesaling business yet, and they're trying to move into other things, and then they half understand everything, and they wonder why everything fails and crumbles around them. Right. And and I assume you learned some of that through time, but also you mentioned before that you've had mentors, education. So what are your thoughts on, a new person getting started in this business, they get to work in and investing in their education? Because I know there's a lot of free education out there, but what are your thoughts on people investing in their education?
At this point now, I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my education as an investor. This is coaches, ongoing coaches, mastermind groups that I've been part of, and mastermind groups that I continue to be part of. The more that I learn, the more that I realize I need to learn. And with regards to having like a private coach, okay, some people look at the cost of it and say, wow, that's expensive, right? Well, what's really expensive is if you try to go do something on your own and you make a lot of mistakes that could have been avoided had you had a coach by your side that has already been there and done that. If I'm trying to, easy example, if I'm trying to cross the ocean from New York City to Europe, right? There's a lot of space in there that I have no idea what's there.
Right.
My chances of surviving that are probably much greater if I have another sailor who's with me, who has been down and back a few times, to know what to look out for, to know, what happens if this happens, or to know, or give you some advice if, whatever might happen on that journey. They're there because they've already done it. They already have the experience. The same thing goes when it comes to real estate and real estate investment. This is not rocket science, okay? And it has been around forever, and it will be around forever, because I don't know if you look around, everything is real estate. Therefore, don't try to reinvent the wheel. right? Bring somebody in, pay them, because they will in turn make you a lot more money. I can guarantee that.
Right. Yeah, you're going to get there faster. Like if you go from New York to Europe, you're going to get there a lot faster if you have an experienced sailor with you. You know, for me personally, I'd probably end up in South America or something. I'd end up in the Caribbean.
Squirrel.
It's like, I'm going to go this way. And exactly what you're saying is the value of time. You're going to get there a lot faster. You're not talking about money. Like you forgot about the money within the first 10 seconds of your explanation about education. It was all about time and the certainty that you're going to get there, you know, if you show up and do the work. You know, where a lot of people go wrong with education is they feel like once you stroke that $50,000 check, it should be done for you. Well, that's not going to happen. You know, they'll show you the way. You still got to do the work.
And to add to that, for those people that can be sometimes like me, bullheaded to where someone can tell me something, but I'm still going to prove you wrong. Good luck with that. All right. I've done that a few times, and you realize the person in front of you, they're looking. Now I go back and look at it, and the person in front of me is like, okay, you just go find out on your own, and you talk to me later. Right. And prime example, we had that in our meetup this past week, and we were telling this guy something about, I forgot what it was, but he was like, I agree to disagree. I was like, okay.
That's fine.
That's fine. Go find out.
Yeah, we've been there.
We've been there. Just come to us a few years from now if you're still in business, and we'll have that conversation, right? So yeah, once you get that mentor, just listen to them, follow them, make sure that they understand the business, right? Make sure that whatever mentor you're in, that they have been in that business before, they understand it, so you're actually have a good guide there, all right? But that's great.
Yep. And I was just going to say, you know, regardless, you guys have Wholesale Nation, right? So you have intentionally put together a group of people that are like-minded. That's a great place to be. If you're not going to have a coach mentor, at least get into a group like that. Get into a space where there are other people that are doing what you want to do. You know, and out of that group of people, you know, find out who's doing the real business, who's out there that you can attach yourself to add value to their life. And I promise they'll give you the value that you need in your life.
Right. Good. And, you know, so that brings you talked about the new person. So what would you say to that new person if you were yourself and you were just getting started in this business? What would you do differently?
Well, you know, I think I was thinking about this before the call. Originally, I was going to say go bigger, faster. But you know what? When you're brand new in the business, what does that even mean? You don't know what that means, right? You don't know what that means. So the best piece of advice I can give to somebody is to get a coach and a mentor who has been there and done that, because it will exponentially increase or decrease the amount of time it takes you to get from point A to point B. I mean, I can't stress enough how important this is. I mean, you have to do the work. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that if you go to a coach and you say, here, I'm going to cut you a check. All right, give me the answer. That's not always the case. Mm-mm. You need to put in the work. You need to listen to them. You need to understand do what they say they tell you to do, and you got to put in the work. But hire that coach, hire that mentor. You know, find the person in your network that you've seen massive success or whatever it is, and just latch onto them and learn everything you can from them, because you know, that's the way they'll get you from point A to point B faster.
Yeah, and I think the first part that you said, it was completely gold, because we saw it in a mastermind that we were here in Houston, that mastermind that we were part of, and just like you said, people were spending $40,000-$50,000 to be a part of this mastermind, but they were expecting the coach or the trainer to do everything for them, like hey, you're going to carry me across, but they weren't willing to do the work. Every single week we showed up, they weren't sending out marketing, right? They weren't talking to people. And then they wondered why it wasn't working, right? Well, the coach is right there saying, hey, this is what you need to do. This is what, this is how much marketing you need to send. This is how often, this is how many people you need to talk to. So yeah, if you're out there and you do get a coach, again, listen to them, follow it. You have to do the work. There's nobody that's going to take you and say, hey, come with me. Now you send the marketing. Now you do this. Now you do that. It just doesn't work that way. All right. I don't think a coach that's not one person that has that much time on their hands to be able to take you through every scenario that can possibly happen.
So, Scott, I'm reading the sign behind you. I think it says quitters never win, winners never quit.
Yep,
How do you, is that Napoleon Hill? It's Napoleon Hill, right?
That is Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I can see the Q and I can see the W on the second one. I'm like, all right, I pieced it together. I'm glad I got it right.
Yeah.
How do you stay accountable?
That's an interesting question. How do I stay accountable to myself? So I'm very I'm very strict on kind of my routine every single day. I haven't really thought about that question. How do I stay accountable to myself? I'm always trying to get better. So every single day I look to learn about myself more. So I'm big in meditation. I meditate every single day. I'm big in exercise and health. So I always, every day, am trying to push myself in the gym. I'm always trying to read every day. So, and I mean it every day. I'm either reading, listening to a podcast, listening to a book on tape, or all three, because I know that if I'm doing that, I'm consistently growing. And if you're not growing, you're dying, right? So
do you have that in do you do that like a morning routine, afternoon, or just throughout the day?
So the morning routine for me is the most important, and I might as well just tell you what it is. So every single day, my alarm clock goes off for the first time at 4:30 a.m. Normally, I'll click snooze until about 4:50 because it's real early, especially right now when it's super dark and cold outside. But click the button until 4:50. I get out of bed, I jump in the shower, instantly take a cold shower. Why do I do that? Because it resets the system and it just shocks the system. It's crazy what that feels like. I mean, it's the worst thing. You get out of a nice warm bed and you get in a cold shower and boom, it's like, oh, this sucks. But
you
when
can't
you get
breathe.
out, you are
it takes your breath away.
Yeah, it takes your breath away when you first do it. Yeah,
it does. And then right after you get out of the shower, I make my bed. That's another really important thing. The reason why is because right away you have a win. You've already completed something and you've won for the day. So boom, you get a win right away, right? Big thing. Next thing I do is I go and I meditate. So I'll meditate for 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark, until between 5:30 and 6. And then at 6 o'clock, I go to the gym. And I'm a CrossFit guy. I go to the same gym, 6 a.m. every day. And I go and I push my body from 6 to 7. After I come back from that, and sometimes before, but most of the time after, is when I'll get my 10 to 20 pages of reading in. So, always trying to read books. I don't know if, you can see I have a small bookshelf back here that's always filled up with books, and always trying to read, just learn more about everything I can.
Yeah.
Okay. So then from 7 to 8, I'm reading the 10 to 20 pages, and then I'm also getting ready for my day. So looking at my calendar, planning out the day, trying to envision the wins for the day, trying to envision the victories, because, what you put into your mind is what comes out. So if you constantly are thinking negative thoughts, you're going to have a negative life. But if you constantly think of how am I going to win, you project out, kind of what's going on with your day and envision yourself winning in all those different scenarios throughout your entire day, there's a good chance you're probably going to. And it's cool. I would test anybody to try that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So just from knowing you personally, I know you're an incredibly disciplined person.
Yeah.
So I was expecting some sort of morning routine, something along those lines. But as far as being accountable to your business, do you have a mastermind that you go to, just people that are friends locally that are holding you accountable, or your business accountable? Is it your team?
Oh yeah, so it's definitely the team, but it's also you and I, or both of you guys, were in a mastermind with me. I've been part of Boardroom for 4.5 years. I also have coaches. So I have a coach I talk to every other week who's here local in Phoenix, and he is a rock star. I mean, talk about accountability. This guy, every single time, we have phenomenal conversations, and I actually have a report that I have to fill out every time that kind of talks about what we talked about and answers the questions, talks about, what my goals are, how do I move forward, what some wins were, what some challenges are, and really what I want to talk about in the call. And that way, that keeps me accountable. Okay. When I show up and there's nothing on these pages, he's like, what's going on, man? And that keeps you accountable for sure.
So chicken and the egg, right? Yeah. So we've got Scott that's incredibly disciplined, has great habits. He stays accountable to a coach. So don't know which one came first, but I can tell you that they're linked, and the reason for your success is that accountability, discipline, et cetera, and your drive for growth. You got anything?
Yeah. So, and that pretty much says it right there. I mean, we've interviewed people, person after person, and you start seeing the same similarities, right? We see a person that's disciplined, a person that's taking action. We see people who have some type of morning routine, some type of routine that they're on. And then when you go and read, just like you're doing, you start reading on successful people. Guess what? Those are the exact same things that they're doing. So if you want to know how to be successful in your wholesale business, just listen to this, right?
Yeah, right.
Which is basically where it's at, right?
Scott, what are you reading right now?
Actually, right now I'm reading The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort.
Mhm.
I just started that one, but it's the straight line system, which I'm sure all the listeners out there have seen the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, and this
Correct.
book was based on that. Jordan Belfort is, phenomenal salesman. He just
battled Grant Cardone.
I think it's incredibly interesting that he's selling coaching.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to trust you?
Yeah, I know. Huh? But yeah, he just had that big battle with Grant Cardone. So yeah, he's one hell of a salesperson.
But I tell you what, that's a business book, which I'm a big fan of business books. I like to read those. But more importantly, I think, than business books is personal development.
Mm-hmm.
Personal development, it all starts with in between your own two ears. It all starts with yourself. If you don't take care of yourself and you don't understand yourself, then you're never going to be able to take care of anybody else or take care of a business or take care of anything else. So if I could say two books that I think are the most impactful books that are highly recommended reads, the number one is The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. If you've not heard or read of The Four Agreements, it's a very short book, and I urge everybody to go out there and buy it today. This book will change your life. It will change how you approach life. It will change how you think about life. And I mean, it just is it's a no-brainer, hands down. You can read it in one day. It's that short.
Yeah, it's like 80 pages.
Yeah,
and what's ironic about that is Andre was in my office yesterday, and I had that book off the shelf. Talking about it, like we were talking. We both read it.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't read it. I have it, but I hadn't had a chance to read it.
Oh man, I thought you said you had.
No, I read the other one, The Alchemist.
Oh, The Alchemist. Yeah. Okay. So The Alchemist, I thought was a great book.
That's another phenomenal book. Matter of fact, Kent Clothier's favorite book. Matter of fact. So yeah, and that's another really, really good one. But the second one that is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Yeah, I just read that one.
I just downloaded that one. So that book changed your life too. So it seems that's changed a number of lives. I'm excited I need to buy it. I'm reading along as I'm listening to books now, rather than just doing one or the other to try to gain as much as I can from it. But how did that impact you?
I think, to keep it real short and simple, listen, we're all on this big ball of dirt in the middle of nowhere. We're all going to die. We're all going to, so be happy with what you're doing right now. You don't always have to be, connected to, the success or the money or the whatever, all the shit out there that doesn't matter. Just be happy with who you are as a person. Be happy every single day. Spread the love all around you all the time, because at the end of the day, that's all that you have to give. And that's what this life is all about. It's just loving other people, loving what you do, sitting there, breathing in the air that's clean, and, be grateful for the fact that you have, something to listen to this podcast on, that you have a business that you're trying to grow, that you have the opportunity to work for yourself, that you have a family that loves you, that, all of these things, you can just go down the list of everything you should be grateful for every single day. And as soon as you start living that life, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Boom. I'm excited to read it.
That's a good one.
Especially since love people is one of our core values in Wholesale Nation.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it teaches you how to like let things flow through you, right? So that you don't, you find out that all those things will cause sicknesses and things like that. Just, as things come in, energy comes in, just let it flow through you. And that's one of the big things that I took from it. But yeah, like you said, at the end of the day, we're just an ant in the galaxy. There's so much going on. Why are you so worked up over little things, right? Yeah. But that's amazing.
You actually said that right. It's about letting life just happen for you, just letting it happen. And meditation is a lot about that as well. It's just let life happen. You don't have control about it. So when events happen in your life, just see them as they are and let them pass through you. And before you know, the next event will come.
Right. All right. Awesome. Yeah. And so with loving people, I know you mentioned that you're a part of that you have a charity that you're working on as well. You want to tell us about that?
I do, yeah. So right now it's really exciting for us. We've teamed up with Midwest Food Bank here in Phoenix. They're actually from the Midwest, and they're kind of all over the country, as well as the globe now. They're in a couple of states or a couple locations internationally. Anyways, they're a nonprofit organization that provides food to the food shelters around different areas. One of my lenders actually is the one that started it, and that's how I kind of got introduced to it. And he's just the most giving guy you could ever possibly think of. So we are raising $5,000. It's a small $5,000 before December 25th to donate to the Midwest Food Bank. And whatever number we end up raising, I'm going to double, or I'm going to match that number in order to double the amount that we can give. We're also doing, we're going to be going there on December 14th and giving some time to the Midwest Food Bank. And so we're encouraging everybody that listens to this to come with us. We'd love to have you there. Come show support. We're going to go from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So not a ton of time, but it's going to be super impactful.
Okay, and that's in Phoenix.
That's in Phoenix. Yep, that's
okay.
Here in Phoenix. And I'll make sure to give you all the links and everything that you need to share it, so that if somebody's listening to this in Phoenix, please come join us. It's going to be fun.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. And we'll put that on the show notes for everyone, so you can donate, but definitely help out because you said it's not just Phoenix. It helps out at food banks just across the U.S. Bring food to the food banks is what it is. So yeah, it can help out in your area as well. So be sure to donate, and we'll make sure to give a donation as well. Okay.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Not a problem. And so now with that, any final words from you?
I just hope everybody has a phenomenal end of the year. We're going on to a new decade, which is a really exciting time. So this is a time when you should be grateful for what you've done, what you have, and look forward to a new decade, because it's going to be fun.
And Scott, that's awesome. And how do people reach you?
So please reach out to me on all the social medias. I'm at the Scott Bauer on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Find me at the Invest This Podcast. If you go to investthispodcast.com, ton of information on there. Any way that you can reach out to me, happy to help. So if somebody's listening to this and they want to know a little bit more about how I might be able to help them, or if they have questions on wholesaling, fix and flips, buy and holds, whatever it might be, I'm happy to help whenever I can.
Awesome. All right, great deal. And for our listeners, Wholesale Nation, again, you can always reach us on Instagram at the Wholesale Nation. Also, check out the podcast. Don't forget to give us a rating and review. We love those. We like to get the feedback. Let us know what we're doing well. Tell us what we're doing wrong, right? We'll take that as well. And then also the YouTube channel. But with that, Andy, you have anything else here to end us out?
Oh, Scott, man, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for coming on. It's a tremendous amount of value, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Hey, man. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
We'll be out in Phoenix in January. So we'll give you a call.
All right. Well, that's the deal. See you then.
All right. That works. All right, guys. That's a wrap. Y'all come back now. You hear?